This episode of Fantastic People is sponsored by Kinetic Realty Services. Kinetic Realty Services exists to help you find home. Their agents understand that home is more than an address. Home is where life happens. It's a place where we experience joy and pain. It's a place where we make memories and build community. Their agents see more than a transaction or a file number. They see the person or family that home represents. Kinetic Realty Services executive sales agents manage the home buying or selling process with care. Kinetic Realty Services strives to provide timely communication, technical excellence, and tailored information for each customer and each home, making sure that from search to close, your home transaction is joyful and professional. Start your home buying or selling process today at kineticrs.com/info. Again, that's kineticrs.com/info. Licensed in Florida and Alabama, Kinetic Realty Services, helping real estate investors find success and helping individuals and families find home.
Welcome back to Fantastic People. I'm your host, Christian.
And I'm Regan, and here with us today is a very special guest all the way from Gulf Breeze, Florida.
So far.
It's so far from where we are.
It is way further than it used to be.
Yeah,
that actually is a very true statement. Yeah,
and I can confidently say that that's still true in January. All the way from Gulf Breeze, Florida, Charlie Green. Charlie is a captain of a dolphin cruise ship, if I'm saying that right. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Ship, boat,
So yeah, Charlie, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. It's been a good year so far. Nothing too crazy's happened to me yet, so we're hanging in.
How did 2020 affect the dolphin cruise industry?
You know, we do kind of what we do every year, and we make the best of whatever situation we have to work with. And obviously, it's a challenge for everybody. Dolphin cruise is not excluded. We kind of voluntarily reduced ourselves by about 50%. So normally 49-foot boat carries 49 people. So we were running about 20 or 30 people. So we did definitely feel a loss overall of income. But we made it work. And we still had a pretty busy season. And we had lots of people who were still happy and excited to come out. And yeah, I think especially this year too, people needed that sort of stuff. Just like,
yeah, for sure, that
little positivity boost. Like, oh man, the world's burning, but we're on a dolphin cruise, so it's all right.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's super strict about self-quarantining and stuff like that, and he can get, I think, a little judgmental. And I tell him, I was like, man, you're not wrong. I was like, but also people need a break. I mean, it's hard on everybody. Yeah. So, doing something, whether it be going outside, sitting at a cafe and just having someone, serve you food that's not an Uber driver, or going on a dolphin cruise. If that helps you get through the crap, then I can't be mad at you, because it's tough on everyone.
Just a little bits of normalcy here and there.
Yeah, I went during, it was in the summer. It was the summer, because they had reopened a lot of the hotels and Airbnbs and stuff out there on the beach, and we took a little staycation with some family that was in town. And went jet skiing for the first time, and actually first time driving it by myself.
Nice.
Which is crazy.
Did you flip?
I didn't. It had the limiters on it, so I couldn't go too fast, but I pushed it all the way to the top, and that was one of the greatest days I had all of 2020, was just being out there in the ocean by myself, fully in control of the vehicle, and the warm breeze across your face.
You just felt like normal. Felt like a summer day.
Yeah, it felt like a normal summer day. And whatever you can do to maintain normalcy is super important. So.
Yeah. Do you think Sally had a bigger impact, or did it have an impact at all? Or
so the one redeeming thing about Sally is it luckily did come at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So we had kind of already gotten the bulk of it. But certainly any last stragglers we would have gotten, we lost probably over a month of work to it, because the boat was messed up, the docks were tore up,
and then the bridge, I'm sure.
Obviously, of course, the bridges. So that was pretty much the nail in the coffin for our official season. So from that point on, we kind of been already looking forward towards this year, and now we got spring break just around the corner. So we're looking forward to that already, kind of a light at the end of the tunnel situation.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that, I know it's hard to quantify. I work with CEO of a company in Atlanta, and I don't think he can fully grasp, or other people can fully grasp, the monetary or negative effect that those bridges have on our town and our infrastructure. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge loss.
So, after this, though, we can never, ever complain again about traffic, though.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true.
I would kill sitting traffic on that bridge right now.
Charlie, just tell me for a second, how did you become a captain of a ship, Dolphin Cruises? A little bit about that. What is it?
Oh, man. Started from the bottom. And now I'm here. So, growing up, I always wanted to work with dolphins. Originally, my goal, I thought, was to work at SeaWorld as a trainer. And I made moves towards that. So initially, me working on the Dolphin Cruise boat was kind of just me wanting to build up a resume. I wanted to have, basically a background that says, I've worked and interacted with people, telling them about dolphins and natural habitats. So I started off just trying to build a resume for it. And at first, I was just part-time filling in, then I really got hooked. And then I was just cleaning the boat here and there, working as a deckhand, as a swab. And then next season, I got promoted to full-time deckhand, and then eventually earned my way up to a captain's license. And now I'm the senior-most captain on the boat. And I've been there for about 10 years now. I've got a 100-ton license. So I can run boats, with whatever passenger capacity they're allowed commercially, which is pretty cool. And growing up, I never thought I'd have anything to do with this, but now I'm like full in, and hopefully, I'd love to own the business one day.
No, I mean, that I respect a lot when a person kind of, finds a calling or finds their place or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've really ever experienced that as a person. Mm-hmm. And probably the closest time is I'm probably what some people would classify as a cinephile. When I got out of the military, I got a job at a movie theater.
Yeah.
And I was the assistant manager of a movie theater. And I loved that gig. Mm-hmm. If it paid more money, I would never have left.
But it's given you qualifications to do what you do with your other podcast, too.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I run, Real Phonies is a bunch of movie theater managers talking about movies.
That wouldn't happen if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. No, it's given me a lot. I mean, I made friends, but I would love to have a job. I just enjoy, going to work every day and having a blast. And
dude, that would be what I wish for every single person on the planet. It's just to have something they wake up and they get excited for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you went to Troy University, got a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
Does that translate to what you do now? I feel like it might.
Well, so going back to the original tangent, me wanting to be a trainer, at SeaWorld, they actually prefer behavioral sciences over a marine biology, which is what most people would expect.
Okay. So
I went the psychology route. But after working 2 seasons on the Dolphin boat, I just fell in love with it, and it was super convenient because, it was where I was already living. All my family's in Gulf Breeze. It frankly paid better than I would have been making at SeaWorld.
Wow,
and,
that's surprising.
And that's kind of what I just decided. I'm just going to do this. This works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let me. One question I have about that is there any? Do you guys do events, or is it just strictly cruises, or do you host do you try to do things that relate to other things going on out there?
Oh man,
how does that work?
We do all kinds of stuff, and that's one of the super great things about the job is it does vary from cruise to cruise, and we do offer private cruises, we offer event cruises. One of the things that kind of breaks up our regular Dolphin cruises for me is here in Pensacola we're blessed to be the home of the Blue Angels, and on a non-COVID year they typically do practice shows most Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And we actually run Blue Angels cruises where we get to go out and we get the planes flying directly over the boat. I get to narrate the show, tell people all about what they're seeing, and they're excited. I'm excited. There's maneuvers where they come so close to the boat that people duck, and I just really enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Blues are we are incredibly blessed, like you said, to have them here. but two, like it is such I like almost like an iconic American thing. Like there's just pictures all over the country.
place.
If you visit somewhere, there's probably some tourist shop or whatever that's going to have the Blues flying over whatever their local monument is.
Sure.
So what was it like for you growing up in the home of the Blues, this like national icon?
So I've always been obsessed with pretty much any sort of aviation. But being so close to the Navy base, where I grew up, when they practiced, they would fly directly over my parents' house.
Oh, wow.
So I'd be waking up for school, and then the whole house would shake. And on some days, their shadows would go over the house. Everything would go dark for a second. And a lot of times, that'd be my alarm clock was a Blues flying overhead, and I'd jump out of bed. I'd sprint outside the house, and I'd be like staring up at the sky, just hoping to see that last bit of tail wing, go before they go behind the trees.
That's an American wake up right there.
It really is. It is the sound of freedom.
Prop your leg up.
You wake
Blues
up,
fly over, drink
F-18
sip your
Hornets,
coffee or
shooting
whatever.
back.
mom's got bacon on in the background. I'm like, jet fuel and bacon. This is America. I'm an American.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of spoiled because I work on the Navy base, and so every Tuesday and Wednesday, I go out on my lunch break and I sit there and watch the Blues fly, and you almost become desensitized to it because it's that all the time. And not growing up here, it is such an odd transition, and I don't know that I have the appreciation or love that a lot of local people have, but it is such a unique thing to hear.
Yeah, and it's really humbling too, because obviously we have a lot of draws here in Pensacola. Obviously, the biggest is certainly the beach, but when you think about how many people come here, and spend thousands of dollars, one of the things they're so excited to do is to get to see the Blue Angels. Well, and that's something that we get to walk out into our backyards and see, or drive, out to the beach, and they're just casually there, and that's part of our lives. Like I've never taken that for granted, because that's just such a unique and special thing that we have here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would not put myself in the top fan list at all, but it is something to be proud of. Like we've been saying, growing up, going to the shows as a kid, especially knowing that people all across the country know about the Blues, love to see the shows, and say, "Hey, I live where they're from.
Yeah, they're ours."
And you can go to our aviation museum, and you can see those planes, hanging from the ceiling. And that's a part of our culture, and you can't get away from that. But it's cool too, because a lot of people, I don't think they know, or maybe they do know and just don't take advantage of it. But I mean, we can see their practices on a daily basis, even if you don't work there or live where they practice. You can go in and sit and watch, which I think
I would offer a little note to that as a person on base. That's not true right now.
Of course, it's not right now.
After COVID, and a lot of the base has been shut down since the shooting last year.
Right.
So,
but
eventually that will be true again.
And it's cool that we can experience it like nobody else can. Is the point, and that gives it a secondary sense of pride to it. Obviously, you said you woke up every morning to the Blues. When would you say was your first experience with it that you remember, first time seeing it and being in awe?
Or the first show you went to.
Maybe the first show you actually went to. That's a good idea.
Definitely. So, like I said, I've always been a boat and an aquatic person. So a lot of times we take the family boat out to go watch the air show. And I remember specifically, probably my first year that I remember doing that, I was 9, and my dad took us all out and got us this great spot in Little Sabine, just right across from Center Point. And I just remember not taking my eyes out of the sky the entire time. I had goosebumps, and I was just jumping up and down and screaming. And I gotta say, guys, I absolutely adore and I love what I do. But if I could go back in time, that'd be the one career path I might have gone back and pursued differently.
Be a fighter pilot?
I would have loved to have been a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
Because just mad respect for what they do. And And honestly, even too, just I get excited for seeing commercial jets. I'll follow them all the way across the sky. I just think flight is so cool.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for flight.
Oh, man.
Every year for my birthday, and I don't know why, if you're listening, honey, I tell her I want pilot. I want a pilot lesson. I was in the Air Force. I worked at a fighter squadron. I worked side by side with fighter pilots every single day. They're the smartest dudes on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
It is
precision.
I know that people think that about. I'm not saying doctors or lawyers are dumb. That's not my point.
Right.
But when you speak to a fighter pilot and understand everything that there's going through their brain in a millisecond, it is hard to. It's truly. It's hard to be in the same room and try to keep up with these guys because it's an intimidating job. Like being an intel analyst and then having to feed them information and understand that they probably know what you're telling you better than you know it, and they want it in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because that's all they have time for. It's hard work to just be next to them, even harder to be them. I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah. I would never qualify myself as someone who could enter the military willingly, but I could certainly do it. If I could rise to the occasion if I had to. But if I had a choice, that's probably what I would want to do as well. I've always been intrigued by it, especially watching, movies about it or seeing them in live action has always been pretty cool to me. But I would say too, again, going back to that on the beach, even just sometimes going out of the beach and when they make their trip home.
Yeah, do a flyby.
Those Sunday night fly homes.
Yeah, and it's like the energy that's on the beach at that moment, or even if you don't even know what's happening, and you just kind of you hear it at a distance and you look, and then there they go. It's
the coolest 6 seconds of your week. I mean,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It's always, to me, it's always a surprise. You know, and it's cool to be there and experience that, and nobody else in the world really gets to experience that.
I do think a good follow on to that is, talking about how humbled we should be to have the blues here. The other part is the Aviation Museum,
right?
Because it is a world class museum, and it is arguably the best aviation museum, next to maybe the Air Force Aviation Museum in Dayton, Ohio. I mean, it is top notch, and it's free,
which is awesome.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, on that point again, and I don't mean to keep. I feel like I'm talking a lot this episode. I love what we're talking about. And I was in Pensacola Children's Course, and my senior year, the local Sanger Theater, was closed for renovation, and that's where the Children's Course would do all of its shows. So for the spring concert, the big finale of the year or of the season, we actually did it at the Aviation Museum, where the Blue Angel hangs, and that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. The whole concert was themed around aviation, and we did Top Gun songs.
Heck yeah!
And one of the coolest things ever is to do Danger Zone with really intense choreography, and the hangar doors open, and they rolled in a jet at the end of the song,
cool.
And had the engines blaring. And dry ice and smoke coming out, and it was so cool. I'll never forget it. And to just be in that room with all of that history while we were singing about that history was super, super cool.
Yeah, my family hates going to the museum with me because I just sit there and rave about every plane. I have a fact about it. And you'll also maybe see a celebrity out there. They've had, he's gone now, but Neil Armstrong has spoke out there.
Been there when he was there. We met him. Actually, we sang there one time as well.
Last year. When they were filming Top Gun 2. Top Gun 2 filmed a little bit at Pensacola NAS, and Tom Cruise came out and spoke at the Aviation Museum. Yeah.
Did not know that.
That's sick.
Yeah, they didn't announce it because it wasn't he didn't want a ton of people there. But if you were there that day,
when was that?
That was this was probably late summer of 19.
Oh, okay, pre this show.
Oh yeah,
I was going to say that we would have failed at life if we.
Had missed that.
Because on our intro we said Tom Cruise, so that would have been
yeah.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
No, I didn't mess that up.
Yeah.
So are we going to get an excerpt of your performance of Danger Zone later on this episode? Do you think?
Is there a recording out there somewhere?
There is.
Sure.
And I can
it'll be our outro music this week.
Maybe if I can find it on YouTube, I will. I'll link it, or I'll contact. Actually, somebody's got video. I'll get it.
That's funny. What do you think if you were pitching to somebody? I mean, you do some of your off-season dolphin cruise you spent out in Colorado.
Sure.
If you ran into a person out there who's like, man, I've heard these things, but it was just like fighter jets to me. How would you sell it to them?
Oh man, dude, a couple things on that. First off, Colorado is home of the Thunderbirds.
Yep.
Which are like the Blue Angels,
Right.
but not as good.
And they've done a show together recently.
Well, they do it several times
Yeah.
a year, but as an Air Force person, I will say the Thunderbirds are not as good as the Blue Angels.
Also, the F-18s the Blue Angels have are way sexier.
Yeah. An
100%.
F-16 is a crappy plane.
It's got some good things going for it. But of course, now the Blues are upgrading
Hornets.
here soon. But we'll circle
Yeah.
back to that. But just kind of circle back to what your question was. We've definitely had some people on the boat that came out with us, and we got a review on TripAdvisor about this later. And I guess they didn't realize they were going on a Blue Angels cruise, but they were surprised when we stopped at Dolphins. We did that. We did the dolphin thing with them because we throw those in for free. And then, according to the TripAdvisor review, we left the Dolphins to go watch some airplanes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, like Reagan, I know you're a Star Wars fan. That's like calling Star Wars some sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of like, it cuts you.
It's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
You take it super
Yeah.
personally. You're like, they're jets and they're amazing.
We left the park to go watch a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. So it is kind of hard to go back and explain to them why they're impressive, because there's so many things I want to say, but to really break it down technically, I mean, you're looking at 6 stock $22 million jets flying 400 miles an hour, 18 inches apart, with human lives inside, literally risking their life during every single performance. Like, it's an incredible thing from emotional and a technical standpoint of what they're doing. So for the people who haven't seen the Blue Angels or don't get it, I think what they just need to have is they just need to go sit on the beach and sit underneath one of the hot passes when one of the solo pods comes 600 miles an hour directly overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that happen once or twice, you get hooked and you get it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there is just a mental disconnect. This podcast is getting to know people and what they're fans of. And for me, there is just a mental disconnect for people who don't get airplanes. Like, like it is something that is like personal to me that I am obsessive about. And so if a person were to be like, it's just a jet, like even if I don't have like this great love and admiration for the Blues, it's still incredibly impressive what they do, and that is an incredibly impressive piece of machinery.
And it doesn't take much to understand the skill level required to even fly not let alone a plane, but a jet, and then do it that close to one other one.
Well, I do think
and then
that
do it that close to 6.
The solo flyby is a good thing because it shows you how impressive this thing is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you said, flying by at 600 miles per hour. It's loud. It's fast.
They break the sound barrier,
and they're like, at that their floor is probably 5,000 feet off the ground, so it looks super close. And
Well, in fact, you don't see them until, or I guess you don't hear them until you see them afterwards. It's
right.
They're there and they're gone.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But yeah, they can do Mach 2, which is about 1,400 miles an hour. So that's Pensacola to San Francisco in just under about 2 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They don't have enough jet fuel to do that.
No. But I mean, one of the most, and maybe this is no big deal, but one of the most impressive things to me is when, like you said, you hear them after you see them, and I mean, I don't know.
You ever watched an airplane break the sound barrier?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's happened to me. Like, I was one of those surprise. I think I don't even think it was a Blue Angel. It was just a random jet. I don't know if they were practicing or what they were doing, but I was on the beach and I'm just playing in the water. I'm like, hey, what's that?
And make the
and I
cone.
can hear it, at a distance, and I like see the plane, and then all of a sudden, it happened like right in front of me, and I hear the kind of the pop noise, and it was like, what was that? Like, and it was just a total surprise. Like, just flew up on me while I'm playing in the water.
And super cool because they're technically not supposed to do that within any range of like.
Oh, it was close.
Land civilians, but every now and then they'll get right on. There's a pilot a couple years ago. His number 5 is Ryan Chamberlain, and he loved seeing how close he could get that plane to the edge. And you get that little crack during a few shows and practices, and he'd be like, he was right on, man. He's cool. He was a cool pilot.
Yeah.
This all reminds me that we recently lost Chuck Yeager, the first guy to ever break the sound barrier. Huge fan of that guy. He was like 98 years old. He died like a month ago.
Wow.
But yeah, Air Force test pilot.
We should dedicate this episode.
Yeah.
To
Good old Chuck.
At the beginning.
You briefly mentioned it. I wanted to bring it back up. The Blues are upgrading their jets.
Long overdue.
Yes. It's been a kind of a complaint, or at least like an asterisk for a while.
Gosh, so the Blue Angels have been flying the F-18As since 1983 or 86. So going on close to 3 decades now, which is the longest running aircraft they've had. Now these Legacy Hornets, they are a remarkable aircraft, and that's why they are still actively used by Navy and Marine Corps around the world. These are carrier-based aircraft. They're amazing planes, but they are starting to show some age. Probably the best indication of that was there was a show back in 2017. There's actually back-to-back shows, and parts fell off of the airplanes in the middle of the show. Luckily, these were non-essential parts, but it was enough where it caused a little bit of concern. So they've been in talks of transition for 2 or 3 years now, and just kind of Boeing got the contract to upgrade these Super Hornets to Blue Angels because there are some modifications. They don't just take a regular Super Hornet; it becomes a Blue Angel. There are some things they have to do to it. So they finally have their complete squadron of aircraft now. They got these newer Super Hornets, already paint job ready. Differences are going to be they're going to feel a lot closer because they are a little bit louder, and also they're about 30% bigger and a slightly larger airframe just overall. So it's going to feel way closer to the ground. It's going to have a more impactful experience, I think, for the people watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how familiar people are, but an F-18 Super Hornet, is close to like a 2-seater F-15 Echo or Fox. It's like the Navy Air Force variants there. They're big planes.
Yeah.
And I certainly could see it being a added challenge to the stunt show mentality. And again, the closest thing I can think of is you look at the Air Force, the F-16, an incredibly small jet. I mean, it's even smaller than the F-15A. Single 1-seater. It's not very large, but the Air Force has a second stunt team called the Raptor stunt team that flies F-22s. That's a big jet.
Yeah,
and
it's a sexy jet.
Yes, I worked at an F-22 squadron. So when I say I worked with smart people, this is the smartest dudes in the world. Though those are solo stunt shows. It's one person showing off what an F-22 can do. It's in a totally different animal when you got 6 guys out there, doing all sorts of different things. So it'll be interesting, certainly, to see over this next. I think they have, because of COVID, I don't think they have any 2021 shows. So it really gives them a lot of time.
They do have a full schedule put out.
I've only seen the 2022 schedule. That's the only one I'm familiar with.
So we'll have to see.
Yeah,
we'll have to see what happens. I know 2022 came out more recently, but I know they do have a lineup for 2021. Given they had a lineup for 2020, and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to kind of cross our fingers. I know they actually flew the beach. I wasn't here. I was in Colorado right before Christmas, but they did a couple flybys.
They're still doing the practices. So if you're around town and especially the beach downtown West Pensacola, you can get a good shot of the Blues. So you may not be able to go on base right now and check it out.
So what keeps you coming back? What after all these years, what keeps it exciting?
So like with everything, there is always that law of diminishing returns. But I tell you, Reagan, just like seeing these planes fly over my head and like hearing them get right on that sound barrier, that does continue to give me goosebumps. But what I get really excited about now is getting to do these Blue Angels tours where I get to have these people, and some of them may have never previously heard of the Blue Angels, some of them maybe have never seen them, to get to share that experience with them and then to get to tell them about the thing that I'm excited about, and I get to watch them get excited about, like seeing these little kids scream and duck and watching these oh man, there's this one kid, and he brought his little toy Blue Angel on board, and he had it like up in the sky, like it was flying with the Blue Angels.
Wow,
that was the cutest, coolest thing I ever seen, and I hope I get to announce his name one day as a Blue Angel pilot. I hope that's something that he follows, because he was all about it.
It definitely sounds like you're the right guy for the job.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Like your love, I'm sure, shines through in your tours, and so that people can see it, and that I'm sure it would inspire people just as much. I mean,
dude, I think that's absolutely true, because I can hear myself, even now too. I hear myself getting excited about it.
yeah,
And I think people get excited watching other people get excited, just because they want to be excited with you.
right.
And that's such a cool thing to get to share with people.
Yeah. No, and that's why we're doing this. That's why we do what we do, is to have those conversations and experience those different things, so that others can hear about it and experience it as well, or check it out if they haven't.
yeah,
Well, that being said, you guys got to come out on the boat sometime then.
for sure.
Yes,
absolutely,
definitely.
I'd love to.
That'd be super
Yeah.
sick.
And would I think it'd be cool to do a blues tour when they line
They're
up
out
again.
flying by. So we normally ask the same two questions at the end of the episode. The first is, if you had a critique, whether it be for, I don't know, the blues, or how people see or view the blues, what would it be? What is a suggestion you would make to improve the experience?
Oh man, definitely bring some earplugs,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be loud, and it's, I don't know, it's hard to improve on perfection, and in my
do
mind,
strive for it, yeah.
The Blue Angels are perfect, and I love the fan base. There are some people in the world who are not fans of Blue Angels. In fact, they are anti-Blue Angels. I'm not friends with those people, because I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
There has certainly been a move. I think the world was kind of better when less people cared about how things ran so much. And part of that is a lot of people complaining about, we don't need stunt teams and stuff like that. And I mean, maybe there's an argument for it, but at the same time, like, it's just something I can't imagine we get rid of.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something that I think it has a place and has a purpose and should be there.
Right. Well, and I could be wrong, but I would say that patriotism has diminished.
Well, it's at least changed the way
Or
that
changed.
Yeah.
And in days gone by, patriotism was God, family, country, especially in the Southeast, right? And I believe that's how we get things like the Blue Angels, where we spend that kind of money, getting excited about our pilots and what we can do as America.
It's definitely a recruiting
a stunt
tool.
show that shows how cool and how powerful and how amazing we are, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that.
Yeah.
But maybe now people, because of the internet and social media, everybody's a critic of everything.
Yeah.
Everybody has a voice for everything and an opinion, and they share it unwarranted and without much limit. And so there's a lot of conversations about everything, right? So that puts a lot of negativity on it. But I think around the state of our country and the way that people view politics and media has diminished that patriotism. And so then you start to question every little thing that we spend our money on, and in our defense force and in our, in those areas. I think that stuff gets called into question where it probably shouldn't be.
Well, I think there is some validity to it. It's just the way people do it and the way it's presented and what people pick and choose is the problem.
Right.
I would also argue that I think the air show model, and I actually believe the Blues are the exception to this, I think the air show model is kind of dated. It is not something that, number one, flight is a new thing.
Right.
Humans have been on
Isn't
this.
that crazy?
Humans have been on this planet for 10,000 years. We've been flying for the last 100 of them. It is unbelievable how far we've gotten in 100 years.
Yeah.
We went from zero flight to we've had people in space.
That's
Yes.
true. Yeah,
in
it's not
so cool.
50 years,
It was
we
brand-
went from no flight to people
Yeah.
in space.
Yeah, it was brand new.
Yeah.
And it was look what we can do, and now it's
I think if you look at the air show model, it hasn't really changed in 40 years, 50 years. And
pushed the limit on displaying what we can do.
And the reason why I say the Blues is the exception, and it's the exception here, because how they treat the, Red, White, and Blues weekend, how they treat the Homecoming show. Homecoming show is a more traditional air show.
Right.
But the Red, White, and Blues weekend, it's, on the
holiday.
beach. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
There's tens of thousands of people. There are tens of thousands of boats, vendors. I mean, all sorts of stuff. It's totally different than any other air show you're going to go to.
Right.
And I think that would help fix a lot of the negativity and critique that people have. If we could figure out how to make that experience more, national or more welcome, then I think you'd see a decrease in the critique.
Well, yeah, because that inspires pride. That inspires pride in your community.
Well, it's
in your city,
entertainment.
in your country.
Yeah.
It's entertainment, but it inspires. It inspires that for me.
So something I want to just circle back to real quick is, talking about the budgeting. A lot of people were getting upset, especially when they were doing the flyovers last year during COVID, and people were upset because why is our money going towards, flying airplanes around the airplanes, air quotes, around the country. Well, one of the things to keep in mind is, like, first off, they're already budgeted. Like, this money's already been allocated. Secondly, there's not only the pilots, but there's 150 personnel, and they all have to maintain not only their flight hours for practice, but also everything else that goes with that. So they need to be in the air doing their thing, because these are still military pilots who are trained to protect our country in the event of a situation where we needed birds in the sky.
Right.
So they've always got to be ready to rock. They actually have a protocol in place in case they needed 9 more F-18s to transition these things back to being war machines in a hurry. So I think that the people who were pushing back didn't realize that also they weren't practicing here as much, so they were still saving money because they weren't in the sky as much.
Yeah, I think the flight hours thing is a really important thing to highlight.
They weren't flying around for fun. They still had to fly, so might as well do something productive.
No, that's a great point.
And I think it did raise spirits. I think people who appreciate and know the Blue Angels, I think it was a meaningful thing. It kind of like gave everybody a glint of hope for a second.
I also would argue that people who don't get exposed to the Blues, I think, people who live here, there's probably a greater echo chamber of negative reviews because people are desensitized to it. Here, I think, if you're a nurse in New York City, I don't know, and you never get to experience the Blue Angels, and you just had a rough day where you lost 22 patients in the COVID ward, and you're flying out, and, these things fly over, and they're saying, hey, we appreciate what you do. Maybe it did have a positive effect, because that is something special to that person.
Those pieces of normalcy we were talking about earlier.
Yep. It may not be special to, bum whoever who lives 6 minutes from the Navy base who's like, I'm tired of these jets flying over my house.
Yeah, the retired guy who gets all disgruntled because they fly over. Wake him up from his nap.
So, I think there are a few arguments for it. And if people are going to complain, they're just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah, for sure.
Many of those.
On another note, what are you looking forward to from the Blues in the coming days?
Oh, man. I cannot wait to see these new birds get in the sky and run their show. We talked about them transitioning to the Super Hornets. Everything should, for the most part, just kind of scale up. There probably will be some variations done to the actual maneuvers that they fly. So I'm curious to see what those are. I'm curious to see the show with these new planes installed. And I'm just really, really looking forward to that. And I'm happy these guys finally got some new planes.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a welcome change.
Yeah.
I'm sure, from them as a pilot and for people who see them all the time. It'd be nice to see. Those are cool. Those are cool aircraft, and they're going to do cool stuff with them.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
I appreciate you letting me hang out with you.
And talk about the Blues. You got anything going on the interwebs? You're more than welcome to promote it here.
Heck,
or your dolphin cruise.
Heck yeah. Oh, man, I got so many plugs. Just hold on, man. We're going to drop them. First and foremost, if you're listening to this, I would absolutely love to have you guys out in the boat with me. You can check out our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Aquatic Charters. We do dolphin cruises. We do Blue Angels cruises. And we do any kind of cruise you guys want. We'll make it happen for you. We'll make your dreams come true. Honestly, guys, I'd love for y'all to check out and see what I'm doing on a personal level. I've got a bunch of stuff going on. You guys can follow me on my YouTube channel at Aquatic Charlie. Also on Facebook, Insta, and TikTok. Like us, love us, tag us. If you had a good time, tell us about it. If you had a bad time, keep it to yourselves.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
It's been good talk.
Thank you for listening to Fantastic People. Please rate and subscribe wherever you find your podcast, and follow us on social media. That's at Fantastic People Pod on Facebook, at Fantastic_People Pod on Instagram, and at Fantastic People, no E, on Twitter. We'd like to say thank you to Alex Edmondson for our artwork. We hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.